All right, welcome everybody to today's session. Thank you for being here. My name is Joey Cruz. I'll be your host today. And before we kick things off, we'll definitely do a quick intro over this session. Uh, we have tons of updates inside of the programs. We're actually going to be covering some of the updates that we have today. If you haven't looked at Starting in Tech, we did publish a V3, so check it out. Career Roadmap has also had a refresh. The mentorship program is going strong. So if you're looking for mentorship or know someone that is looking for mentorship, go ahead and point them to SOMOS.tech/mentorship, where they can find, actually, we have over 32 spots for mentees. So lots of room for mentees. So if you know anybody that's in tech or early in career, they're looking for some mentorship, point them to that program. All the way down to labs. We actually just launched our beta program for labs. But for today's core focus, we're looking at mock interviews. And before I change the page, I do want to highlight the fact that we are looking at launching soon the resume review. So if you haven't heard of what we're trying to do there, a lot of exciting stuff. It's still in the works. We're calling it our beta program. I want to say there were 6 spots open if you're interested in trying out the new feature. We're always trying to get some feedback as we build these new products and try to help others break into tech. Now, with that said, return to the main event. And for the main event, please help me welcome our famous PM, Jimena. So, Jimena, you want to do a quick intro? Wait, whoa, let me.
Yes.
All right.
Oh.
All right, there we go. All right. I was like, that's too big. All right.
I thought, are you the main event? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jimena Talamantes, and I'm a product manager for SOMOS.tech, and I'm excited to talk more about our mock interview with you all today.
You sound so excited.
I am. What?
All right. Fair. All right. So with that said, let's first get started on where do you even find this mock interview program. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing screen.
Yeah.
You know, when everybody starts sharing screen, you're like, hey, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
All right, very
nice.
Right.
So to find, can I go ahead?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so to find our super cool mock interview, you would go under programs, and that's where you would find it. And your journey begins in mock interviews.
All right. So that was pretty easy, simple, straightforward. Programs, mock interview. Now I scroll down here, and the first thing I see 2 options: Peer Connect and AI mock interview. What exactly is Peer Connect?
Yeah, Peer Connect is something we can talk about a little bit later in our session. But right now we're going to focus on the AI mock interview portion.
All right, sounds good. So it sounds like a surprise for everyone then, huh? All right, so
good.
Let's go ahead and get the inside scoop on what exactly we were, or even from the design, what exactly was this program intended to do?
Yeah, the intention of this program is to really simulate an interview, right? So sometimes it's hard to, get that real life experience and practice without, whether that's like with folks, and AI is so integrated, and sometimes, that whether it's like that first call screenings. So why not use what's being used on us to help us get better experience? So thus the AI mock interview.
I get it. So like since it's already ATS systems that are doing the resume reviews and some of the actual behavioral interviews, why not use it to practice? So practice makes perfect, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Very nice. All right. So the first thing we do is pick a role. So what if I don't see the role? I have the option of selecting other.
Yes.
But I'm very biased, so I'm going to select product manager. And tell me why we're even providing this information. Where's this information going?
This is going to help tailor your mock interview to be more specific towards the specific roles you're looking for, because each type of interview and each type of role will have different, whether technical, behavioral, a mix of both. So we really want to give you as realistic of a practice before walking into a real interview.
All right. And that makes sense. So not only does it help understand the role, but also understanding what company, because different companies have different ways of working, or?
It's a little bit of both. Each role and each company have different expectations or different ways of interviewing, or what technical means to them, what behavioral means to them. So coming together and finding that perfect blend of the role that you're desiring to do a mock interview for and this target company that you're trying to interview for.
Nice. Yeah. So here we pick experiences. So what does this change? If I pick several years versus no experience, what changes exactly?
Yeah, so for no experience, you're going to get very entry level type questions. And of course, as you have more experience, you will have harder questions as you have more experience too.
All
So
right.
just trying to gauge what is correct for you.
So we'll go with no
No
experience. I
experience.
think I'm good. Yeah, I'll stick with that. All right, now it looks like I clicked generate my interview. So what exactly is happening? What's with the research going on here?
Yeah, right now, our AI is actually doing real research. As you can see, it's Glassdoor, other hiring portals to gather, what the interview process is for all of these and the types of questions that you would get for the specific role that we've selected, which in this case is product manager at Microsoft. So it's gathering real context data that you can actually encounter.
Nice, and it looks like it's using Perplexity.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So if you haven't used Perplexity, it's like I guess it does a good live web search. So I guess here, as you go through, one of the things that I know that we built into it is providing transparency, because all the products not only are abiding by the principles of responsible AI, but it's also important to understand where your data is going. But here, the first thing I see is the interview process at Microsoft. So it looks like the first thing they do is do a recruiter phone screen, followed by 4 to 5 virtual or on-site actual. This is awesome, because this actually makes a lot of sense. So they do mix the type of interview loops, and then some of the commonly asked questions for product managers. That gets you, I guess, the idea here is if you're getting ready for an interview, this is intended to help you get or take a look at not only how companies do it, but also some of the questions that may be asked during the interview.
Yes, exactly.
Why would something like recent news be important for somebody that's about to get ready for an interview?
I think it's important to know what is happening. You should, of course, I think good rule of thumb is to know the company that you're interviewing for. I think that's a very common question that's asked. So it's good to be in the know of what's happening and just to give you more resources and not walk in blind into your interview.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. There you go. I was looking for the word.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So like a good example would be if there's like an acquisition or some big movement that maybe you need to tie in to your interview loop. So that way you can show like the interviewer that you actually stay up to date and you did your research, you did your homework, right? And then
Exactly.
why are you exactly showing a likely tech stack? What is the intent behind showing this?
I think the intention is to just, again, provide more knowledge based on the company. So you can see, you're moving too fast. You can see Security Copilot, you can see Azure Teams, which are some of the features or not well-knowns of the company, which for our practice interview, we did Microsoft.
Very nice. And then you have the salary band. And it points you to levels.fyi. So I really like levels.fyi because it's a clear way to understand on depending on which company you're looking at, it gives you lots of information that you can find super helpful. So that's a really nice integration there. Some of the guiding principles, growth mindset. So every day you have to wake up with growth mindset, customer obsession, a bold ambition, and one Microsoft. That's awesome. So it gets me ready. And I see here you have 3 different options. Why do we have English, Spanish, and Portuguese?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to be inclusive when doing these interviews. And oftentimes, folks' first language might not be English, or specific teams might not have, specific teams might have different language requirements. Maybe it's important that you're bilingual and they just want to test your proficiency. So having the ability to still be able to walk through your interview and answer behavioral questions, technical questions in different languages is really essential. And for now, we have these 3 languages as starters, which I think is great. Because oftentimes it's just English or English and Spanish, but I really like the addition of Portuguese, and hopefully we can continue to expand this as we test it out and see what languages are in demand.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Let me see if I could put or actually, let's go ahead and start the interview. So now that we have the context of the actual interview, so we have all the information that is provided specifically for the company that you're looking for, we're going to go ahead and kick things off. So hopefully we're praying to the demo guys that everything works as expected. And it looks like it's working. So I don't really know if the folks online can hear the audio, but
it's helpful with the highlight. I really like the highlighted as it's going and reading along, so you know where you're at.
Yeah,
That's a good touch.
then provide feedback after each response.
So it looks like
Let's get started.
it's starting me
Let's start
off
with an elevator pitch.
with
In
the
about
elevator
60 to 90
pitch.
seconds, walk me through who you are, a couple of relevant accomplishments, and why you're a strong fit for this product manager role at Microsoft.
Oh, that's pretty impressive. You don't want to actually interrupt
It
Grace.
seems like your response was very good.
Sorry. So,
Based on the topic.
fair enough. Yeah, it's
You did not clearly address the key elements.
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm failing terribly. So let's go ahead and end
But for the
interview.
demo, it's good.
So it looks like I got an F, but it looks like it had a total of 6 questions. It started me off with, of course, we can't do an entire end-to-end interview live, one, because I would probably fail it. I haven't done a mock interview in a while, but I guess I get the gist. Like, one of the things that you saw was you had on the left-hand side the agenda and your actual real-life time scoring. So that way you understand a little bit more about how you're doing. And then in front of you, you actually had the questions that the interviewer, in this case, Grace, which we should probably talk about where this name Grace comes from, because there is a huge reason why it's called Grace, or why we called it Grace, in honor of a tech leader. But the other thing I did see was on the right-hand side, there was still that information. So when you're thinking about like answering these interview questions, it was important for us to not only understand the company rules, but the culture, but also some of those guiding principles when we build these actual responses. So, and you could actually hide it, which was really nice. Now, I want to pause there. Is there anything specifically that you wanted to highlight from the previous screen before we move on to this screen?
No, I think you did a good job. I think, well, actually, the one thing I do want to highlight, and it's a little hard to do it since we're live demoing it right now, but encourage folks who are watching to test on their own. I really like, well, Grace, of course, she probably heard something and just prompted us to the next question, but it really gives you that, like, the button to mute and unmute. It really gives you like that simulation of like, oh my gosh, I'm not put on the spot. I need to respond right now because, you know, Grace is going to move on to the next question, but you can prompt her to give you a moment to really stop and think about it, which I think is one of the most important things when practicing interviewing. It can be really hard to just like jump right in, giving yourself that moment. So I think that really gives it a human touch, even though you're doing an interview with a mock AI. So I really like that portion of the last page.
Yeah, I think one thing to call out exactly to your point was that if you do get stuck or something along the lines where you want to ensure that you have the ability to or pause, a great rule of thumb is even Grace. You could talk to Grace and say, "Hey, actually, I don't know how to answer that," and Grace actually gives you feedback on your response live. So while I failed this interview, the good news is that we definitely can try again. But something that you notice is that not only does it give you an overall view on how good that response was, but you start seeing that you can, of course, download as PDFs if you want a future reference for it. You get the question breakdown. So if you wanted to continue this specific session, you'd have the context on how you did. So maybe the next time that you go through this program, you do even better. But with that said, it looks like finish your interview. So I think this one is probably one of the coolest parts, in my opinion, because we all know that we have our preferred AI model. So instead of you being locked into SOMOS.tech, we give you the prompt. So of course, you could always go to Microsoft Copilot and paste that specific prompt. So to continue that interview. So one of the things, if you wanted to, is be able to take what was happening and to carry it on to a different platform. So that's something very awesome. So with that said, Jimena, did you want to tell us who your favorite or what platform you prefer? Let me go ahead and point you to the one that.
Yeah, Copilot is really, I use Microsoft. I use Microsoft all the time at work, so Copilot is definitely there. Not just because Joey was pushing me to say that.
No, of course not. No, but I mean, Claude is
great.
Absolutely. Yeah. But with that said, like when we think about being able to help, we were talking about AI, but now I see Peer Connect. So what exactly is Try Peer Connect? Did you want to highlight this program?
Yeah, Peer Connect, which is what was on that first homepage that we said we would get back to, is really trying to practice the real thing with somebody. So, you know, AI can only do so much for us, but there will be real scenarios where you have to practice with someone in real time how to do it. So Pure Connect can help connect you with someone who's interviewing for the same kind of role and do that kind of like mock interview with someone else and get that feedback, but not AI this time.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I think having a human that is like had the human experience could help not only put the pressure, or not so much the pressure, but make you feel like you're actually talking to someone versus right now it's just text. But maybe in the future, some of the things that we've been thinking about is, because during an interview they are looking at body language, they're looking at the way that you react. So are you good? Do you get nervous? Do you not? Do you lock in? Like, that's some of the things that we're looking maybe in the future North Star. So Jimena, when do you think that could be part of the product?
I'd have to check in with the team, see how soon we could do something like that, and that's why these sessions are so helpful and meaningful, and really gather feedback of like something that we're potentially missing right now. But I think it would be great, and we can work on that soon to come.
It's gonna come. Yeah, there you go. Like, a proper PM response. We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
All right, so if you want to personalize, what if you wanted a career roadmap? What would be a great way of doing that?
You could go to your build your roadmap.
Look at that. Almost like if we would have thought about this.
Yeah.
What I really like is this part right here. It's called the recommended resources. So we know that we can only help you with so much. Yes, you can leverage different resources, but especially with books. I think one of my favorite books was actually this one, the Cracking the PM Interview, or Cracking the Code on Interviewing, period, because there's a lot of aspects that go into an interview, not only the soft skills, technical skills, and other questions that go inside of an interview, but really, how do you ensure that the body language matches the actual, like, let's say if you're a customer facing role, how does it actually match? And then of course, yeah, absolutely. I think Marco in the chat says there's definitely some things that when you're interviewing, you definitely don't want to be reading. I think we've all seen those, like those TikToks of people reading, or they put like some type of lotion on the camera to block the actual detectors. It's kind of crazy. But
Oh my.
it's and then my favorite one is the avatar, the fake AI filter, so it looks like somebody else. So somebody's doing the interview for that person. Yeah, it's kind of crazy where we're at today.
Wow.
But right now, if you put your hand over your face, it actually ruins the AI detection. But yeah, I think for folks that are joining us online, the big thing that we want to call out for sure is, while we're giving you a good starting place, your feedback is super important for us. So there is a place for you to add feedback. So I think I might have accidentally commented it out, but
Yes.
for sure, one of the things that you could do is always reach out to us. We have a contact form. But we definitely want to hear your feedback. If it's missing something, Jimena will vibe code it away ASAP. But if it is missing something, or if you know of a resource that's been super helpful, we would love to hear it. We're always trying to think about better ways to help the community. But with that said, I think we did a pretty awesome job of covering not only mock interviews, we covered an actual demo. While we didn't actually do the interview because I didn't want to fail online, just be aware there's also other ways to connect. Like Pure Connect is actually really cool. It's super beta, so you can see there's a lot of test accounts. But it's a good way for you to build your network. And of course, if you haven't checked out La Placita got a huge rebranding, or not rebranding, but really we looked at better ways how we can even communicate. So build your network, not only practice your mock interviews, but also we're trying to do all of this while still building community. So with that said, it's going to bring us to the end of our session. So Jimena, do you have any final words for the folks online, or anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, just opening the floor if anyone has any questions before we end our session. But if not, as Joey said, you can always give us feedback and connect with us. So yeah, we really just want to make it a useful and helpful resource for those who are using it. So, but thank you everyone who joined us today.
Yeah. So we'll give it a few awkward seconds of silence. So if anybody on the chat wants to ask us a question, I think we covered the majority of it. But again, we're not perfect, so we'll definitely if y'all come up with any questions, feel free to ask us in La Placita. We actually, there is a way to ask, and we're always looking at it. I know Jimena's on there 24/7. So yeah. All right. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and end the session. Thank you so much for attending. Please let everybody know about this. We're always trying to make it better. So if there's something that we can improve, please share with the community and let us know how we can improve it, because we're always looking for feedback and comments to better improve the entire end-to-end experience. But with that said, thank you so much for joining, and that's going to be the end of this specific session. We'll see you in the next one. All right, thanks.